And with that, we're live. Welcome, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to the Light 'em Up Lounge. Time for another inspiring interview, time for another inspiring conversation with no other than Reinier Lorenzo from HVC Cigars, joining us live today. Reinier, it's been a while. I very fondly remember the first time we had the privilege to be on the show together. Our meeting at the PCA trade show afterwards, and now we're back. It's good to have you again. Good to see you. And how's everything on your end?
Hey, thank you for having me and your show. Everything's doing great. Always, I am the guy that always push. Like I remember when we were talking about the first sign, like I remember our first conversation, we're talking about like, I'm not supposed to be here talking about cigars, right? So that was not my past in Cuba. I was living in Havana. So always says life is a lot of changes, and I am the guy that always looking forward what's next, right? So
absolutely. Well, Renee, also, the last time we spoke, it's been a couple of years now, and HVC seems like you've been going from strength to strength, and not only that, I mean, in the meantime, you opened your own factory in Nicaragua, which is a massive step, and we'll talk about that in great length and great detail. Just before we dive right in, I wanted to, first of all, welcome everybody joining us here at the lounge, but also everybody joining us over on Facebook live stream. As always, it's a privilege and pleasure to see all of you and to have the family back together. If you have questions for Reinier, please put them underneath the live stream into the comments. I'm always checking the live streams, so whatever questions you might have, I'd be very happy to forward them to Reinier here at the lounge. But without further ado, Reinier, let's get back to business, and let's talk a little bit about what's been happening recently and all these exciting news with HVC. You've introduced a couple of new cigars. A few of them are already made at the new factory in Esteli in Nicaragua. The factory is called Fábrica de Tabacos HVC S.A. de Reinier Lorenzo. So fittingly, with your own name in there. We sometimes try to understand and to explain to everybody watching, in particular the people, the cigar enthusiasts, those who are not in the industry themselves, what does it mean? I mean, what type of a task are we talking about when we say opening up your own cigar factory, right? It might be easy to get a pair of rollers sitting at a bench and let them do a couple of cigars every day and then call that your own factory. But to run and operate a fully fledged cigar manufacturing operation that's a completely new animal. Talk us through what that actually meant for you and how you managed to pull it off and create your own factory, the proud new home of HVC Cigars.
I mean, it was like, for the last 11 years, I was making cigar with Aganorsa, right? And at some point, that's always been in my dream, right? Like, we still a small boutique cigar company out there. And like for us, it's like we don't have this big operator, right? We just make a day. You're talking about like 2,600, 2,500 cigars a day. Around 50,000 cigars a month, right? So around that number. So I'm always, it's like, for me, it's like a step by step. When I say step by step, it's like you have to know and you have to learn. And I say this, I've been really lucky and really blessed to be around with people with a lot of knowledge, what they do, and always be learning from them. So that's the first step there. To me, like I said, well, now this is my point in my career in the cigar business that I'm going to do this. That was actually 2 years ago. before I start my own factory, because the factory opened a year ago. But a year before, I was like setting the whole thing, like, whoa, I want to. The first was looking for the location, and I want to be in this middle of the city, right, in the downtown of the Nicaragua, so I can have more opportunity to bring workers for me, because right now we had to get workers in Nicaragua. You know, it's been a main thing in Nicaragua in the past 7-8 months to get workers down there. So that was the first thing. And after that, I said, well, now what I want to do is like, I don't want to go like really like something mass production, right? Like I said, we're still a small boutique cigar company, so we don't make cigar for anybody. Just make the cigar for myself. After we have established in the United States for the last 10 years. So the other thing was I want to work with the tobacco that we still getting for the Aganorsa. That's the other issue that we got when I was thinking about like to open the factory, right? Like how can I keep going get the tobacco? And that for us has been a bless to keep working with the Aganorsa tobacco that we buy directly from them, the stuff that me personally like, the things they think is going to work for me. Because it's like I say this, like say this 1,000 times. Sometimes I think I'm wrong because I don't blame for people. I blame for myself, right? So I would never put a cigar out there that I don't like, right? So the first cigar was the selection #1, the one that you say was last year for the PCA, the one that with greenbacks and Andres Maduro wrapper, binder and filler. We used the Jalapa region and Esteli region. So that was my first cigars came out from my factory. And then we did the Black Friday, the limited edition, back from last November. That was the second cigar that we released then. And then we did a exclusive project from Atlantic Cigar, the Series A, and the 56. And then now we're working for a new stuff that we're going to release already this year. But to have a cigar factory, it's like you never stop. When you say you never stop, it's always something, right? You have to be really on top of everything. And I feel blessed to have a really small team out there that represent me very well when I'm not there. They always like what's next. But always for me, the main thing always we meet with them is like, remember, everything's about the quality here, right? So the things always are looking for a cigar, the flavor, the balance, the conclusion, the clean finish. That's what I want to have in a cigar. You ask me right now, Reinier, why you really a small cigar? Why give me something with flavor? That's something that really enjoys me when smoking a cigar. Me personally, that's me. I don't like boring cigars. That's me. I like cigar with flavor, spicy, mellow, chocolate, sweetness. That's what I like. And I'm very blessed to be able to work with people that they know the message, right? The stuff that I want to get out there, that this is the things that we do. So we're still there, working there. So,
in the meantime, Alberto, our different from Mexico, had a question over on Facebook, and he said fittingly, what was the biggest challenge for you along that process, and what do you consider the biggest challenge in operating a cigar boutique? You obviously mentioned the tobacco. Labor, finding the right staff is crucially important. But what was it for you where you felt like that was really the breaking point, and once you had that, you knew you were off to the races?
It's like to me, people that really know me personally, they know always I am the guy that they say you always happy, right? You always like out there, like with that energy that you have. But same time inside of me is why I am afraid. You know what I mean? Like that's why I'm so picky when I do my things. Like it's like I want this, but I want this like this way, right? It's not working that way. It's not gonna happen, right? It's like that's the breaking point to me. It's like I'm so obsessed, and when I do it, things like this has to be this way, but not this way. I'm not gonna do it. And you're talking about there when you're talking the cigar world in general. It's like the tobacco has to be ready. The people that work for you, they know. I want to make sure they know what they're doing, right? It's because I'm sharing something with you guys out there. I know that the perfect word is not X, right? So like, I want to get the perfect as possible when you're smoking a cigar. And it's a really challenge in there because it's a product in my hands, right? A lot of steps, step by step. And when you don't have that concentration, more things. It's like I need people really that you want to work with me. It's like let's make sure everybody's on the same page, right? That's a big step with me. Like let's make sure everybody, hey, you are not able to follow me with this. Is okay with, right? Let's just go do other stuff because this is my way to do things. And I try to play that to people. And I feel fortunate to have people that listen to us and happen to me, right? When I am next to a big guys and with a lot of experience, I always listen. I try to learn from them. So it's because like I say, I'm 38 years old, right? It's not like I'm nine. This been like 50 years, 60 years. That's not us. We got in the been only 12 years. But now with my own cigar factory, it's been only a year and 2 months, right? Like something like that. Yeah, it's always a challenge. Always is a challenge.
Yeah. Reinier, last time we spoke about your background and how you started in the world of tobacco and cigars, but we have an ever-growing international audience. We have a lot of people joining us from all the way in Southeast Asia, Africa, Europe, the Middle East, the Americas. For everybody that's not familiar with the history of Reinier Lorenzo and HVC, I mean, what's so interesting is you still work today with Eduardo Fernandez and with the team at Aganorsa Leaf. I'm sure and you mentioned that you get a ton of tobacco from them, but interestingly enough, that there was a connection with the Fernandez family even before you were actively involved in the premium cigar industry, right?
Exactly, yes, because remember when I always it's like when I was living in Cuba, I left Cuba when I was 23 years old. I was in medical school in my first year. And before I went to medical school, I have a veterinarian background. So when I went to work for a company called Sexy Technology in Wisconsin. When I left Cuba, most Cubans stay in Miami. That wasn't me. I moved to Wisconsin, right? Really close to Canada there. And I was living there for 7 years working for a genetics company. And I started really learning about tobacco like around 2010, 2009. That's when I really started learning about tobacco. And Havana City was never involved in the tobacco business.
Yeah, but if I remember correctly, your parents had a connection with Fernandez, right? And they worked
My
for
sister, she was the general manager at Tropic Tobacco here in Miami. That was everything started there.
Wow.
And that's when really in 2009, when Eduardo Fernandez, the owner of Aganorsa, invited me to go to Nicaragua.
Yeah.
I went to Nicaragua, he showed me all the process, the tobacco, the operation they have there. And it was really like, it was like, wow, this is unbelievable. That's really when I fell in love with that. I was there. Yeah. And at HVC in 2011, but remember at the beginning, this was like my home, my part-time job. I still working full-time. And my free time, I used to visit accounts in all Midwest area, Chicago, Michigan, Ohio. And then in 2015, that's when I say, hey, business was growing. I got to make a decision and say, this is what I want to do. And it's been doing that for 8 years almost now.
Reinier, what was Eduardo Fernandez's initial feedback when you approached him and told him, I want to do my own cigars. I want to start my own brand?
I mean, always has like, he's the guy that always wanted you guys, like he always would, like, he's a businessman, right? When you have a place to be around people, business guy like that, it's like you're always learning, right? And he was completely open to me and say, hey, you can do it, you know? You learn from us. You see a lot of people learning here. We're talking about Senior Ramos, and the older master blender was alive. He was the master blender there. Into all these guys, they're always, I say, I'm learning from them a way to make a cigar. But the palate is something you need in a person, right? Because I remember when I used to blend with Senior Ramos, always say, you always really picky about like sing. It's like, well, it's like I'm not blending cigars for people, all right? Let's go back to the point. I'm blending cigar for myself, right? You are a master blender, but I want to make sure the cigar we put together is something that we'll enjoy, something that will like it. I can talk to people, what is it, right? So that's a point to me there. And always with them, it's been a green light with me with them.
Do you feel like at some point he was either concerned or probably trying to talk you out of the idea? Because I'm sure there's as an owner of a factory, operating a factory, um, people will get a lot of requests from, somebody who is passionate about cigars, or people who just think it might be a cool venture, or it might be a business opportunity, then approaching the factories and telling them, I want to start my own brand, but probably they lack the experience. And I'm wondering if as a owner and operator of a factory, you might be careful with who you allow in, and who you share the opportunity to start your own cigars with.
I mean, it's always like always say this in a business and whatever business on your life, you have to be true to yourself and you have to be honest, right? So when you be true to yourself and you be honest, it's like, hey, this is what I wanted, right? You help me, that's okay. But if you don't help me, that's okay too, right? But this is what I want to do with it. So it's something like you have to be really focused on what you do because it's not easy, right? People always think like when you see me traveling in a cigar shop, posting a picture with cigars, drinking a bourbon, whatever, people always think that's the life. Actually, I'm working, right? So what people will think is easy. No, that's not easy. So that's the part you have to be really focused on what you do with your life and what you want for your life.
Yeah.
And that's the point I say, hey, this is what I want to do. And we have been doing it that.
When you work with a factory like Eduardo Fernandez, with iconic tobaccos, where quite a few other iconic cigar brands are made, thinking about Illusioni and D'Angiolito, for example. Plus, Aganorsa is very strong with their own portfolio, and they heavily feature their Criollo and Corojo tobaccos in pretty much everything that they do. How do you differentiate the taste profiles of your cigars from the other brands that are manufactured under the same roof with the same tobaccos?
That's something like, like that's something like I get questioned a lot. And to me, it's something that you're born with. And let me explain you why. That's because your palate is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I say I think sometimes I'm really wrong when I don't blend cigars for people. I blend cigars for myself, right? And for example, like Warp, Dion, Melillo. These guys, they have a completely different palate. Even we work with the same tobacco. One of the really, in the beginning, me really, and still learning about tobacco, it's like how many different blends you can do with the same amount of tobacco. That's really important that people have to understand. I give you the same amount of tobacco like the Visos, the Secos, the Ligeros. You can do it many different blends with the same specific things and specific tobaccos. Just the radio is like that. And that's when you palate a big part of that, right? Because it's like, well, maybe I can give you this and I use it the same thing, but the way you use it, that has to do with my palate, the flavor profile, and the cigars when you put together the cigar. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
Absolutely.
well, maybe and you blend you the one the Visos, maybe and you blend you the one the Ligeros, or maybe you the one the Secos. Who knows, right? So you blending for something that you really like it. And the opportunity to go there and you have a lot of tobacco to play with it's unbelievable. It's like I always say, you feel lucky and blessed to be around that and learning a lot from that.
Very true. And you've always been very frank and open in the way that you conceptualized HVC cigars. You carry it even in the name. What you do is a tribute to your home, to your roots, to Havana City, to the old Cuban tradition and heritage of manufacturing cigars, and even to a certain extent, the aroma and taste profile of old Cuba, right? Um, how I mean, I sometimes think about there's plenty of people in the cigar industry who use Cuba as the pinnacle, or the how shall I say, it's kind of the North Star of of premium cigars, because that's where the modern cigar tradition all came from and truly took shape. But to a certain extent, sometimes it feels a bit cliche, or it seems like people are trying overly hard to reach a certain profile or reach a certain idea, even though you're using different tobaccos from a different origin, different terroirs and stuff. What was the taste that you had on your lips, on your palate from old Cuba? What was some of the feeling and the profile that you wanted
It's like
to create with
it
your?
is funny. The favorite cigar from Cuba, the Cohiba Siglo VI, the Cañonazo, right?
Mhm.
So to me, Cuban cigars, it's like they don't have super strong cigar, but they don't have the tobacco to put really something really heavy in the cigar, right? All the cigars they have is like mayo medium, medium plus, not even medium full when you compare the medium full from Nicaragua. Remember, Nicaragua, the soil is really dark, really volcanic. Cuba don't have that soil. And Cuba, the cigars, it's like, I mean, I'm talking about for myself, for my palate, right? To me, Cuban cigar is mayo to medium, medium plus. Not compared to really medium full body, like a Nicaraguan medium full body you can have. But, I mean, let me see, I can find the right way to say in English this. Like, I mean, you have the aroma, you have the bouquet, the sweetness. Cuba to me have a unique sweetness, really difficult to replicate out there. When you find a really good Cuban cigar, it's like, wow, what do they have, right? So it's like always me when I'm blending a cigar, it's like I want to replicate that. I want to get that unique sweetness, like in my lips. Yeah, you're talking about like watering, like it's like sweetness, almost like a honey, right? Not really heavy, not really light at the same time. It's like it's difficult to me to explain that. You have to smoke it to see it, right? Like it is like that, like with the aroma, the bouquet. It's like wow. It's like and now you can see how Nicaragua in the last, I would like to say, 10 years they've been developed, because if you're talking about like 25 years ago, Nicaragua was not in the map. Nicaragua really started doing unbelievable things. I see probably like what, like 15 years ago, like 13 years ago. That's when really people start like all Nicaraguan makers right now. Most of them have the background in Cuba, and they're always looking for that. But at the same time, you will see everybody doing their own thing and bring to the market really completely different blends, but with the same characteristics like the sweetness, the rich, the flavor profile.
Definitely. And do you in particular find that with Eduardo's tobaccos, with the Criollo and
You
the
see,
Corojo that he's
to
growing?
me, Aganorsa leaf have a unique flavor profile that's really difficult to complement. They have a few farms in Jalapa region. Jalapa region to me is the most close region to Pinar del Rio in Cuba. And they have some farms in that region that to me they're unbelievable. Really close to the flavor, the aromas I'm talking to you about, like to replicate the flavor Pinar del Rio in Cuba.
It's interesting that you say that, because I I sometimes when I talk to growers, but even cigar enthusiasts who enjoy and try, most often they will associate Yalapa with a particular sweetness, with the key contribution that it brings to the cigars, where you have that luscious sweetness. And since you mentioned that as one of the traits that you were looking for in your references of old Cuban taste profile, that's an interesting bridge right there. Tell me, have you played? And no, I know you use it in one of the blends, the Corojo 2012 that
Then
Aganorsa has been growing successfully in the last couple of years. How did that impact your blending, and where do you kind of register it in the portfolio of tobaccos that Aganorsa has to offer?
I remember like I was one of the first to use the 2012, came out with the 10th anniversary HVC in 2011, the
Mhm.
HVC 10th anniversary line. And I remember a few years ago when we were testing that tobacco, it was like, it don't have the sweetness like that, the Corojo 99. To me, the Corojo 99 is more sweetness than Corojo 2012. But the Corojo 2012, to me, is more finesse. When I say finesse, it's like not the sweetness, but it's like can go to a cigar and make that little twist that you need. When you smoke it, it's like you are really a true cigar smoker. It's like you have to really be really relaxing and find aromas, the nice aromas Corojo 2012 bring to the blend. Because it's not really powerful. It's like, to me, it's like nice, medium, fine balance the Corojo 2012 does for whatever blend that you want to complement.
Uh, for your own factory, do you primarily work or exclusively work with Aganorsa tobacco still? Because that's, I believe, one of the key challenges when you start from scratch is the inventory, right? And everybody will say you can have the best rolls in the world if you don't have the tobacco inventory, you know.
95%. 95% of my inventory of tobacco is from Aganorsa. That's one of the challenges when we're talking about like when I started, like I say, like because it's like, and this, I mean, you can talk it's a passion, it's a love, but at the same time, it's a business, and you want to be consistent in your blends. And to be able to be consistent, you have to work with the same tobacco. That's really important, right? Like you want the people to smoke the hot case, you want the people to smoke the 2015, the HVC 500, and eventually, year after year, you want to be close to be the same cigar. Because every year you have to adjust this blend. It's like, it's not like you will sing it, you use the same amount of tobacco every year, it's going to work with. Some things out there that we cannot control. And when you're talking about can be a year with a lot of water, or you can be a year where it's really hot out there. The tobacco and soil change the flavor profile. So when you go and get those tobaccos and you say this is the flavor profile I have for this blend, it's really important to adjust the blend with the same amount of tobacco, just make some adjustments going with the same flavor profile. At least the most close when that release came out. That's really important to me, right? Like be consistent year after year. And that's really hard.
Speaking of consistency, Reinier, you have one line in your portfolio that's called Vieja Cosecha, and that refers to vintage normally. And there's probably different perceptions about vintage in the cigar world. One where you're referring to one exclusive vintage, I remember there was a line from Mombacho that Claudio Scroy did when he was still there, a true cosecha with one particular vintage, and they only use tobaccos from that year to, similar to what the wine world does, present an exclusive taste and aroma of tobaccos of that vintage. In your case, I believe it's referring to aged tobaccos. Do you believe in something like the vintage effect in cigars? Do you think that will eventually become a thing, or that more and more people would look into presenting a unique aroma and flavor profile from a single year? Is that something that you have thought about as well? Or do you say, well, in the end, you have to have consistency, you got to have aged tobacco, and that's the way to roll?
I mean, like when you got it, something I have been learning, you will have some tobaccos that were aged better than other tobacco, right? Typically, we use tobacco 2 years, 3 years. So the one you're talking about, the HVC Vieja Cosecha #2, we use exclusive tobacco by years age. That one has been really difficult for us. Actually, we always say it's not a limited edition cigar, it's a limited production cigar. Because the tobacco that we use is 5 years age, and we don't have a lot of those tobacco, right? So we may only a year, you're talking about less than 1,000 bucks a year with that. Because it's the amount of tobacco that we're getting from 5 years age, and then you roll with that tobacco. But at some point, even on blends, I have find out like when the tobacco is ready to roll, and you have the tobacco that's ready for you to work for your blends, you have to do it. Because over time, you will see the tobacco will age better, and that's it. The other thing, like we're really like, even having to eat some cigars, like I have the cigar there for like 3 years. And when I smoke it, I mean, the cigar is really raw, right? You say the tobacco inside 42 is like 2 years old. And the cigar is aging already for 3 years. Let me smoke it. You will think the cigar will be way better, but it doesn't. It's like, well, it's okay. It's a smoke. It's nice, but it's not like something that you would expect. The cigar will be way, way better. So,
Is that also something that you had in mind when conceptualizing HVC, and in particular a reference to old Cuba? I think most international smokers who are very fond of their Habanos cigars, they usually put them aside for a while because they don't like them when they're young, when they're fresh. So you stash your boxes aside, you keep them for a couple of years before you dive in and you enjoy the old Cuban cigars. Did you also envision your cigars to have a particular, like, are they particularly suitable for prolonged aging and seeing a development of the cigars with time?
yeah, I mean, like, for example, there is one that we have, La Rosa 520. That was my address in Cuba. And usually in that cigar, I usually use all the tobacco from the Jalapa region. So those cigars, to me, they aging really, really well. I have boxes down there that you can have boxes for like 5 years, 6 years old. And the other day I was smoking one cigar and I was like, wow, I believe I have more boxes of this, even that I can share with people because this cigar is aging unbelievable. I think I posted a picture on Sunday. I think it was Sunday I was smoking out there at the house and I was smoking one of those La Rosa 54. Those cigars came out, I think it was 2015. So you're talking about the cigar already have 8 years.
Wow.
So, and those was smoking like wow. But like I said to you before, you will have some tobacco inside that they don't age well. It's not gonna work. Even me right now here, I have a few boxes. Cuban cigars. I got here like H1 number 2 from 2 years ago. I'm not gonna smoke. I want to wait at least 5 years. The most aged one I have here is I seen the Ramon Ayones from 2016 exclusive Casa de Habanos. Right? The other thing is really important to make sure when you, it's like, always I say this to people, like, when you're going to buy the tobacco, it's like you're going to the market. Right? It's like you go to a big market and you start trying leaf by leaf, right? The viso, the ligeros. Then you will say, well, this is ready. I can work with this. Let me have it. And maybe you got something that's not ready yet, and you say, well, let me have this. I will put this aside and let me give it some time. And I know probably in a year or 6 months, this will be ready to. It's like, to me, it's like, that's why the palate is really important in the cigar industry, right? Kind of palate you have. Because it's like, if you don't have that, how can it be possible to make a really good cigar? Right?
Very
It's
true.
like, it's like, how? I mean, just how?
One thing I find interesting, do you feel that your own palate has changed over time, not only as a smoker, but also as a manufacturer? Do you feel that your palate has evolved and that you're now looking for different treats and different aspects in the tobacco compared to when you started?
I mean, not yet, because it's like, now to me, it's really difficult to make a mild cigar. It's like because my palate is medium to full body. And like I being like that since starting smoking a cigar, I like make a really mild cigar to me is difficult. Because like I said to you before, I don't feel that. I need that power, I need that punch, like not overpower, right? Like the clean finish that you're always talking about. And you have some friends, you say, well, you're always talking about that. You're always talking about the clean finish. Well, because it's, to me, that's really important. Right? It's like, and my palate's been like that, medium to full body cigars. Like you see the HVC portfolio, but I'm doing an event. And people say, hey, I never hear about you, Brad. So what do you recommend? I say, my question is like, what do you like to smoke? It's like, because you tell me, like, you are a really mild cigar smoker, I don't have anything for you. Right?
And when you talk about mild, Reinier, do you refer to the actual nicotine strength, or are you talking about richness in terms of the aromas and the weight that the cigar has on the palate, the body?
It's more like the nicotine levels to me. Like, because it's like you can have a medium body cigar with a lot of flavor, and you will steal the flavor. And you will, it's like something mild. Sometimes I have people say, hey, try that cigar to me, and the cigar don't give me nothing. That's somebody say that to me when I smoke that cigar, it's the same thing to me. And that's because the nicotine levels is really low there, and you don't have that. And to have the nicotine levels really low, to me, it's like I need more flavor than that. More flavor to that, the nicotine level has to be up. That's really important when you use in the tobacco, because if you buy a tobacco like let's say something is like 75% of seco, it's really difficult to get flavors there. Right? Really difficult to get the flavors out there, because it's like seco says usually more you have flavor, but it's more for combustion. So that's something to me like it's really important what you have inside the cigar, what being the flavor out in the cigar.
Absolutely. There was a comment from Macy, or a question that I just saw. Macy, our resident lawyer, I know you have plenty of questions burning on your fingers, on your fingernails, but it's good to have you with us. Chime in.
Hi, Macy, how are you?
Wow, saludos, ¿cómo está, señor?
Todo bien.
Mi viejo, mi compañero en 38 años. Me siento muy bien. He said 38 was young. I just turned 38, so I'm feeling really that I mean, like George Costanza on a show, something he'd say, "Leave when you're ahead." I might need to just, yeah, that was thank you. I needed that. I've been in Florida the last few weeks, and even smoke in Florida could not take that stress away. But anyway, it is great to be here. First of all, I've got a before I lose the thought, you're talking about, this is something that always got to me, strength versus body. And I'm not sure if I really believe in this myth or not. So maybe we can, I'll say, first of all, I have never heard a manufacturer say that the body is mild or the body is weak or the smoke production is very low, even when it is. So I think that's just something everyone lies about, first of all, because of marketing. Because I will say this, it is rare for me personally to have a mild cigar and then say, oh, the body though was so rich. And so, I mean, I think they're, you know, that's where the art of blending comes in. But the truth is, I mean, if you could get something for nothing, communism would work and we'd all be drinking lemonade. But you can't. You've always got to, you know, sacrifice them. So I appreciate what you said aligns with my just personal experience of smoke. I started when I was 15, so I guess that's now 23 years as a 38-year-old. But that fits in with my experience. But sometimes that's not a bad thing. Sometimes you don't want your face melted off. I mean, it's kind of hot outside in Mississippi where I am, and I don't normally like really Connecticut wrapper too often, or a milder cigar. But when it's hot as heck outside, even I have to relent to the elements, and we'll go with the, you know, milder blend, seeking body that's not as rich, because it, you know, makes me very thirsty. And so I think there's I guess the comment, I think there's a time and a place for everything, and there's but this idea that just got to be I don't know, someone can find me any cigar anywhere where they say the body is not full and all. I would love to see it, because even on cigars, I guess my point is, I wish there would be more honest. It's not something that you have to apologize for, I guess, is kind of the point I'm coming to, that you don't always need to have rich body. You don't always, I mean, maybe you know, like I love these aged Paul Garmirian cigars. I've been talking about those honey flavors and that old Cuba taste. My wife was gone and I broke open some 1991 rolled Lanceros, Corona Largas, and they had that old
Wow.
taste. And they were so light, and I appreciated it for what it was. And it had that sabor de miel that you talked about. And by the way, I completely agree on that. The old Cuba, that is what I fell in love with, that honey taste. And I wish they would get that back because it's been gone for a while, but that's why I'm glad we've got manufacturers like you. I don't know how involved you are in the FDA fight. I would just say this as a small factory owner, real quick, 2 cents. I encourage everyone to submit comments. If you haven't, I ask you, Lorenzo, submit a written comment. I think CRA now has some templates, some forms that are helpful. I need to do it myself. I'm working on some other legal deadlines, but it's something I myself need to do. But anyway, I appreciate what you're doing. And just another final thought is, my dream is Colombian tobacco. I'll just say this, my wife's from there, and my wife just came back so the Lanceros vacation's over, wife's back, kids back, and she brought back some samples of some small factories. I talked to you down there, and let me tell you, I'll just say, these are some of the worst cigars I've ever smoked in my life. Some of the filler was good. So what you're doing, people don't understand how hard it is. And come smoke some of these small factories they're trying, but it's not easy to do what you're doing. And I don't think it opened my eyes up to have, because these were their best. And you just realize how spoiled we are in the United States in terms of when you go to a shop like Smoke Inn, you've got 1,000 choices, and 900 of them are excellent. 100 of them are really, really excellent. It's just, we're very spoiled. But thank you, and I appreciate what you're doing and your transparency. And
no, it's like always, and thank you for coming to the show. And you're right when you say it's not easy, because it's like, well, like you say, when you go to a big cigar shop, you have thousands, right? It's like you go to a candy shop, right? You have Sunset, Ocean, and people will always say, why I have to smoke your cigar? A simple question: why I have to smoke HVC? And always I say this, because they are completely different than what you have there, those 1,000 cigars. That's always what I try to make. Something completely different, blending on my own palate, make sure it's something different what is there in the market. Because in the end of the day, we can talk about things and the tobacco, right? And the final point is, you have to smoke it. You have to have your own experience smoking the cigar. Always I say this, be open to your palate, right? So smoke whatever there's a lot of 1,000 really good cigars out there. There's a lot of 1,000 really bad cigars out there. In the end of the day, you have to figure out what really you like and what really works for you. I always say this, the people that's now on, and they know me, I always say it, be open to your palate. Smoke different brands, different tobaccos. At the end of the day, you will figure out what you really like and what you don't like. It's really important for you to be able to try different things. When you find something that you like and you say, well, I like this, let me stay with this. And there's nothing wrong with that.
well, let me just say that's why I think boutiques are going to grow. I know I think it's the Cigar Authority. I don't think they have. I think it's Bill Burr, a comedian, who says some comment like, "You taste smoking, you taste fucking smoke, you asshole," or something like that, making fun of people claiming they taste all these things. And yeah, I get it. Some of these reviews, maybe they're, maybe they're exaggerated, maybe not. Maybe they can actually taste, what kind of wood the meat. Good for that. But I think there are this idea of just, all cigar, I smoke the same thing. That is changing. It is different with our generation. This aspect of connoisseurship or just trying, it's so much more fun than just smoking the same thing every day. Yeah, I got my rotation, all that. And I think our generation is doing it. That's going to continue to grow. And I think in 10 years, the average cigar smoker is going to be much geekier, much more interested in trying different things, if nothing else, to kind of figure those things out, to have those experiences. Because, I mean, honestly, if you're not doing that, you're missing out. It'd be, I guess, like drinking the same whiskey or rum every day. And, you know, I want to drink good ones, but I mean, I'm married. I need some experimentation in my life.
Macy, on that note, I just wanted to add, Oleg actually reminded us on this over on Facebook. It's May 31st. So besides today being Wednesday and Light 'em Up Wednesday, May 31st is the International Enjoy a Cigar Day. And this year is the sixth rendition of this. It was originally launched by Cigar Rights of America and Cigar Rights of Europe, and was declared the International Enjoy a Cigar Day. So to everybody, if you want to post a picture of you enjoying a cigar today, then please use the official hashtag as well. Share it with the Cigar Rights platforms, share it with the Cigar Journal, and of course share it with us, with Light 'em Up. So just a brief shout out to the organizations, to Cigar Journal, to Cigar Aficionado, to Cigar Rights of Europe, Cigar Rights of America, the PCA, everybody who's trying to support the premium cigar industry and trying to strengthen the, as Macy called it rightfully, the connoisseurship, the fellowship, the community. Chime in and please post your pictures, share your thoughts, and get involved. It's a beautiful initiative and an important one, I think. So yeah, just a quick note on that. In the meantime, I think Reinier just briefly lost connection, but he'll be back with us in a second. So we had a little bit of the technical glitch there. But Reinier, you're back. It's good to see the man back on the show. Macy, I wanted to ask you in the meantime, you spoke about Paul Gamurian repeatedly. I know you're very fond not only of his cigars, but also of his book and his work in general. So when can we expect Paul Gamurian to join us at the Light 'em Up Lounge here?
I don't think Dr. Gamurian, he's too smart and has too much money to have me speak for him in any capacity. We need to work. That's a great mission. It needs to happen. He was kind enough to give comment on an article that's on your excellent blog. His son, Cave and PJ McLean Cigar Boutique is who they are. But anyway, we're going to work on that. And the best thing is actually his cutter. It's $20. It only goes up to a 50 ring gauge, but it's probably a good thing. Keeps you from ever going over 50. Maybe it's and it's $20. It's the best cutter you'll ever have. I swear it. Just look it up, buy the cutter, and it's unreal. But we're working on it. He's gonna.
Hey, I'm back. I'm sorry, my internet was not here at the office.
Good to have you back. I saw that you briefly slipped from the lounge, but it's good to have you back.
Yes, I got to connect with my iPhone now. I don't know what happened here in the office. The internet was down.
No worries at all. It's good to have you back. And in the meantime, we just shared a little shout out for the International Enjoy a Cigar Day. So everybody can post pictures and tag Cigar Rights of America, Cigar Rights of Europe, Cigar Journal, Light 'em Up. Very fitting that we can host the show today on May 31st. Reinier, something that I wanted to ask you is comparatively, HVC is still a rather young company. I mean, you're celebrating 12 years in the business now, right? You started 2011.
2011.
So comparatively, I mean, you've proven yourself over and over again. You've gathered a great community, a great family around HVC, and people love your stuff. You truly established yourself in the industry. However, what was your strategy when you started the brand in regards to growing the brand awareness, being a new kid on the block, and God knows there's plenty of cigar brands and plenty of brand owners and just great cigars out there, right? How did you tackle getting your name out there and growing the awareness of HVC? Did you focus more on media, social media? Do you think it's ultimately the sales rep or the broker that's going to make the brand, because it's the retailer who then translates that to the end consumer? Reviews, influencers, website SEO, what of all these things were some of the critical components and the different ingredients to success that you wanted to work on primarily?
I mean, like, to me, and this is like as far as I know in general, everything is a big part, right? And then the other thing, that the cigar has to speak for themselves, right? If you guys see and follow us, I always traveling, right? Traveling in different states, like letting know people what we do. That's really important. This is a business that's still like door to door, right? When you say door to door, it's me traveling with the reps to different states and like visiting different cigar shops, letting people know about what we do, and they love that. And me personally, I love that too, because who better than us to talk about our story, right? Where we come from, what we're doing, and that's a big part. And it's a general, right? Like when I say it's not only about me, it's about our team out there, letting know people like what we do, and that's really important in everything for us. It's like, because it's not only social media. I mean, social media right now is a big part of that. But if you're talking about, like, I don't know, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, you would say, oh, how this was, these big guys, like I have a lot of respect for them. Like, they do that. And that was door to door. When I say door to door, like just traveling out there, letting people know, doing events, doing car and lights and cigar shops. And that's really important too.
But even on social and in traditional media, it's a crowded marketplace, right? And I wouldn't dare calling it saturated, but I think it's just so hard now to stand out on social media for people and brands. You're somehow a victim to all the algorithms and the new developments that might be going on with Meta and YouTube and whatever. But also just in the niche that is the premium cigar industry, there's plenty of people out there, and it sometimes feels hard to differentiate yourself and to clearly communicate to everybody why should somebody smoke your cigars rather than somebody else's, right? And yes, I agree. I believe it's going back to authenticity and to get the message across as to why you're genuinely different based on your personal story and your personal background. But you have to get in front of people's faces in order to be able to tell that story.
I mean, that's a big part in the development of the brand. Like, we are still like a small boutique company, we're still growing, but a big part is that, right? Like, letting know people face to face what we do, and sharing our passion and love for HVC, right? It's like a small family business operation. And like, the other big part is like you're right when you say it's a lot of things out there. Like, be true to yourself, right? Like, we not invent anything here. Like, just be honest and be you when you talk about what you do, right? I don't try here to invent, like, this is not technology. This is cigars, right?
Yeah.
So just work with the right people, have the right materials, and try to come out with the best blend out there that you can, right? Like, I always say this, I would never put a cigar out there that I'm not smoking first, right?
Yeah.
That's important to me. And that's something that really, like you say, authentic to the brand and myself, right? So, and as always I say this is not a sprint, right? This is always, you have to think a long term for us to be able, when you're talking about the big brands out there that been around for years and years, it's difficult. So that's why I always have a lot of respect for them, because it's not easy, right? So that's the way you need that mentality always to think in that.
Reinier, Macy posted a very interesting comment here into the chat box, and Macy, maybe you want to chime in for a brief second, because I know you're a heavy online buyer, and you always bring up the topic of that old conversation of online versus the traditional brick and mortar. So please share your comment, because I think it's highly relevant, and maybe Reinier, you can then put your perspective on this, where you see that that amalgamation and the critical melting point of online and brick and mortar.
Well, I'll say that it's a comment, I guess, to name drop any, when I could accost brand owners at Puro Sabor in Esteli this past January. It was the same comment I made to them, which is embrace online, that there's nothing, first of all, it's here, there's nothing you can do about it. It's going to continue to grow. So whether you like it or not, it's irrelevant. But in defense of online, I said, I think you should embrace it. And it offers, I said, I live in Mississippi. The brick and mortars around me are very lacking. There are some decent ones a few hours away, but my God, that's a couple hours away. Inconvenient, and the cost is there. In terms, it's higher. There's a lot of advantages to buying online, and the connoisseurship as far as selection, it's unbelievable. So I think it's just obtuse and an insane, because it is missing the forest for the trees for anyone to say online is bad, we hate online. I mean, you need to figure out a way to work with it. Sure, they're going to be online retail. I mean, that's any business, but that's like saying the internet is bad. I mean, the internet's many things. It's human. So, but it's not going to change. It's only going to grow. And let me tell you about my buy. I mean, Davidoff, I buy from them. I'll call them direct. I don't know if that's online or not. They've got direct, but I will only buy sticks in person that I smoke in that lounge, or maybe a few to take home with me if there's something special, something unique. Otherwise, I buy online, often from the same store, which is a whole different issue of brick and mortars complaining about online when most of them are in the game now anyway. So I don't know where that line is.
Regardless of what you just shared and what you just said, you yourself were still surprised how important the personal connection with the brick and mortar retailer was, and still is, to so many cigar enthusiasts, and the impact that well-trained staff, well-educated staff, knowledgeable staff can be for the decision-making process.
Yeah,
that's majority of cigar enthusiasts.
It completely stunned me. I give a lot of credit to Smoke Inn on that for having, I think, good staff. Maybe part of it is just the relationship that retailer has. And I think good retailers, I guess, will have that relationship of trust. So that might be part of it. But I was stunned at the influence and the suggestion, the walks through the humidor that occurred. I thought most people were like me, and they read. And no, there are a lot of people, even people spending real money buying boxes. That a lot of them came in, had money, and they said a lot of people were rich people, Palm Beach, were seeking Cuban alternatives. So even in the United States, that was another observation. They said, I'm looking for help because I smoke such and such, status cigar, and I know all the problems we know. Can you give me some options?
Reinier, I'm curious. What's your thoughts on the impact of the retailer and the importance of the retailer and their staff, in particular for a young brand trying to establish itself in the premium cigar industry? Are those the number one multiplier and the number one channel that you need to focus on, and you need to be amongst that few brands that retailers talk about, carry, well, first and foremost, obviously, and dedicate some of their precious real estate to your brand? But would you consider that the make or break for the brand initially?
I mean, for us, it's like we start doing business with the big guys online, like relative, like you would say, like 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
Mhm.
Because the beginning for us was more like brick and mortar, and today it's still brick and mortar. Like the big players, when they want to bring a boutique, they want to make sure it's like, established, right? Like you have people that hear about already and people talking about already, because it's like, how can you bring a line when nobody know about it, right? It's like, and the other thing is the staff and the brick and mortar to me is really important, because they are the one that's selling the cigar at the store. When you have really well-known, educated people behind the counter that can talk about cigars, that's super important for them.
Good point. Now, in retrospect, is there anything that you would do differently if you were to start all over again and create another HVC? Is there anything that you would do differently today?
Probably not, because we made a lot of mistakes, right? And we still making mistakes, and like you learn from that, right? If we don't make mistakes, how can I learn from it? I remember my first cigar was called the HVC First Selection. I hired a guy to do me the design on the bands, and it was, you cannot even read what the band says. And the cigar was good, but the cigar really never took off. And like 3 years after, we just discontinued that brand. And still people ask me for the, hey, when you going to bring back the HVC First Selection, your first cigar, right? And you see, when you see the design of the boxes, you cannot even read, and you learn from all this, right? It's like, hey, I'm not afraid to make mistakes. That you learn from it, right? So like everything would be like the same thing. To me, it would be boring.
Very true. Now let's look ahead. Let's look into the future. The PCA trade show is just around the corner. I very much look forward to seeing you in Vegas in a couple of weeks. But what's installed for HVC for the remainder of the year? And what are some of the things that you're working on or probably thinking about already mid to long term now?
We want to keep growing organically. That's really important for us. We don't want to be like really high end there, because I think we will fall really hard too. So we want to keep growing organically. And the other thing for me is like to working with new wrappers to try to get new flavors out there. That's all the thing, like really, like to me, like when I'm blending, like working with different wrappers to see what I can bring to the table. When you're talking about the flavor profile, the cigar out there, that's all the thing really important for us. And the other thing is like to keep doing consistent the blends that we have in the future. That's all the biggest step for us. Like we have to really keep working really hard to maintain that, looking for a long-term business.
Brief follow-up question on the wrappers that you mentioned. Do you have something on your bucket list that you would still love to blend a cigar with, but never had the opportunity to, or you just never found the right blend for one particular type of wrapper tobacco?
You know, I like to do something with Cameroon wrapper, but Cameroon wrapper is really hard to get, and they're really expensive. It's like right now, think about it, this happened to us already with the broadleaf, Connecticut broadleaf. We have a brand that's called HVC First Selection broadleaf, and it's been really successful. We are in back order for about like 6 months already, because I cannot find a really good wrapper Connecticut broadleaf. So, and when I'm talking about the Cameroon wrapper, probably if I would come out with something, it has to be limited, because I don't want to make the same thing that happened that, hey, people really like it. I don't have a lot of access to the Cameroon wrapper. So possibly, so thinking about that, but I would like to do something with Cameroon wrapper.
That would be incredibly interesting, Reinier. I would love to see what you would do with the Cameroon wrapper. I mean, a lot of people would probably say I'm biased on this one, but I certainly believe Cameroon is just the most incredible, delicate and elegant and complex wrapper tobacco. And yeah, it would be fabulous to see an HVC cigar with the Cameroon tobacco on there. But I'll be very happy to come and see you at the PCA together with Jeremiah, and then maybe we can have a little chat about Cameroon tobacco.
Wonderful, yeah.
Brian, who's here with us, joining us from LA, has a question for you or a comment. Brian, good to see you, my friend.
Hey, how are you? Good afternoon. Hi. A couple of things that I think are true that you can maybe confirm or not about the Black Friday is one of my favorite that you have. And one thing that I perceive that maybe I'm wrong about is that it's crazy popular. And like people have a hard time getting it, sometimes each year. And, is it as popular as I think it is? And if so, did that surprise you, or was that like a kind of beautiful gift that happened with this cigar particularly? Another second thing that I think is true about it is that it's really strong. I've had all different kinds of strengths, and so I'm wondering, is that true, or was it just a day where maybe I didn't eat enough, or maybe I ate the wrong thing? Because I was like, it blew me away, and it was like I think it's a Robusto. It was pretty small, and I was like, man, this cigar kicked my ass. So is that so true that it's so strong, or is that intentional? And then a third thing about it which Reinhard was talking about earlier in terms of wine and a different wine each year labeled with the year, which you've sort of got with the Black Friday. How much does it differ year to year, or how much is it just really the same exact blend, just with a new date on the label?
Yeah, the project with Black Friday every year is a completely different blend and a completely different size. Every year is a completely new cigar, right? It's a different blend that you buy in that time, and when it's sold out, it's sold out. We never replicate those blends. And the only thing is only stay the same. It's 50 counts, Cap. Always is 50 count boxes. So, and we make only like 500, 600 boxes, and that's it. That's why the one that you're talking about probably was the Chorro Busto, the broadleaf. Yeah, that one was a strong cigar.
Yeah. That was like 21 or what year?
Yeah, the 21. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was great.
The 21, the broadleaf, yeah. And last year we did the Robusto Extra, yeah, with Habano wrapper, correct? Mm-hmm. But every year it's a completely new cigar, and we have been doing that for the last 7 years. And when you buy it. We never bring those blend back to the market, though. It's something really special for us. And the other thing is like it's a way for me to say thank you to the consumer, because as you get something you need and limited, that you have a time to buy it one time a year, and that's it. And the other thing is the price point.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Brian, many thanks. Reinier, before we wrap things off, first of all, I want to wholeheartedly thank you for taking the time again, joining us and sharing with us your passion, your enthusiasm, all these, behind the scenes insights and wonderful information. It's always greatly appreciated. And I can only congratulate you for what you've managed to build over the last 12 years with HVC and the impact you've made on the premium cigar industry. So congratulations on that, and kudos to you. Before we go, though, I have one final question, and it's something I didn't know, but Joey Bianco pointed me in that direction in the comments here, and he said you make a mean mojito. So for me, being a bartender and coming from the wine and spirits industry, I want you to share with us your special Reinier Lorenzo mojito recipe before we log off. So share it with the world.
I love to make mojito. It's really simple. Only you need to make sure the ingredient you have is fresh, right? White sugar, mint, fresh mint, lime. Me personally, I like to use the Havana Club Rum 3 years old. The one that when the label is yellow. The label is yellow, 3 years old, Havana Club Rum, and club soda. In the end, when you finish everything, in the end, just put a couple drops of bitters.
Angostura bitters.
The Angostura, yes. Just a couple drops in the end. And that's it.
Amen.
And in the beginning, make sure when you put the sugar and the lime with the mint, make sure you muddle very well. And after that, just put the ice, they depend the amount of the alcohol you want to put, 2 ounces or 2.5. And after that, a little bit of club soda, and then just finish with the drop of the bitters, the Angostura, just a couple drops, and you will see how it change completely the flavor in that.
There you go. So I think finally everybody's salivating, craving a mojito. So I guess you better just whip yourselves up a couple of mojitos and enjoy a couple of cigars, given it's International Enjoy a Cigar Day. Mike, you had a question or a comment though before we go.
Just to add a little bit on to Lorenzo's comments on the mojito, if you don't have everything to make Lorenzo's mojito, you can grab a bottle of rum and know that you would enjoy yourself splitting a bottle of rum with Lorenzo. And I had a great time doing that with him in January at his factory with one of my colleagues. So I just wanted to comment real quick. Great seeing you. Always love seeing your passion for your cigars and always enjoy your cigars, and can't wait to see you in Vegas, my friend.
Thank you. See you guys in Vegas.
Mike, I couldn't think of a better comment to wrap things up. I look forward to seeing both of you in a couple of weeks. Thanks again to everybody joining us today. Reinier, in particular to you. Thanks for everything that you do. All the very best, continued success, lots of health and prosperity for you and the family. And thanks again
Thank you for having me on your show. Yeah, thank you for having me on your show. And I always say, we always looking forward to keep going, to keep working hard. And I always say this, abrazos to you all de corazón. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to all you guys out there. Thank you for having me on your show.
Everybody.
See you guys soon in Vegas.
A good evening, a good afternoon to all of you for today. Enjoy a cigar today. It's International Enjoy a Cigar Day. And for everybody, light them up. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.